Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Svapadantikam Namaham Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 31, Lord Kapila's instructions on the movement of the living entities. So, yesterday we covered till which point, Prabhuji?
This is 19th verse, first paragraph.
19th verse, first paragraph we covered. Oh, very good. So, just going through the couple of translations. Text 17. Fallen into a pool of blood, stool, urine within the abdomen of his mother, his own body scorched by the mother's gastric fire, the embodied soul, anxious to get out, counts his months and prays, O my Lord, when shall I, a wretched soul, be released from this confinement? So there is a very intense prayer by the child inside the womb. And Srila Prabhupada, very elaborately describes about the word dhi, that is intelligence, and what is a krupana, that is being explained. Text 18. My dear Lord, by your causeless mercy, I am awakened to consciousness, although I am only 10 months old. For this causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the friend of all fallen souls, the word used here is Deenanatha, okay, friend of all fallen souls. There is no way to express my gratitude but to pray with folded hand. Krutanjalisya Kuryat. So he is offering. Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Lord is always seeking the opportunity to reclaim the fallen souls to his abode, the kingdom of the God. Right? So it is not that God is happy that we are here. No, he's also always seeking opportunity. What can be greater opportunity than, he created the Kurukshetra war. 64 crore warriors were taken back home, back to Godhead in one go. We also have seen that Lord is always anxious to award some devotional credit to his living entities. Just like the child, just like a mother wants to see something good in the child and wants to reward the child who is trying to improve. Text 19. The living entity in another type of body sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and can understand my destination. And therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Personality of Godhead, by whom I have been blessed with this body, and by whose grace I can see him within and without. So now here, the living entity is comparing the importance of human form of life, human body. Because in another type of body, what is that another type of body? Means other species of the body, they are very highly controlled by the instincts, other species. And therefore there is no karma also. But in this body, the human soul, that's how the translation begins originally. Human soul is saying that this is how I can offer. And this is how we all must have prayed to the Supreme Lord when we are in the womb. Correct. Yeah. So please continue with the purport.
The word Dhamma Shariri means that we have a body in which we can control the senses and the mind. The compilation of materialistic life is due to an uncontrolled mind and uncontrolled senses. One should feel grateful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for having obtained such a nice human form of body, and one should properly utilize it. The distinction between an animal and a man is that the animal cannot control himself and has no sense of decency, whereas the human being has the sense of decency and can control himself. If this controlling power is not exhibited by the human being, then he is no better than an animal. By controlling the senses or by the process of yoga regulation, one can understand the position of his self, the supersoul, the world, and their interrelation. Everything is possible by controlling the senses. Otherwise, we are no better than animals. Real self realization by means of controlling the senses is explained herein. One should try to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead and one's own self also. To think oneself the same as the Supreme Lord is not self realization. Here it is clearly explained that the Supreme Lord is Anadi or Purana, and he has no other cause. The living entity is born of the Supreme Godhead as part and parcel. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Anadir Adira Govinda. Govinda, the Supreme Person, has no cause. He is unborn, but the living entity is born of him. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mama Vamshaha, both the living entity and the Supreme Lord are unborn. But it has to be understood that the supreme cause of the part and parcel is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Samhita therefore says that everything has come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva Karana Karanam. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this also. Janmadi Asya Yataha. The absolute truth is the original source of everyone's birth. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. I am the source of birth and of everything, including Brahma and Lord Shiva and the living entities. This is self realization. One should know that he is under the control of the Supreme Lord and not think that he is fully independent. Otherwise, why should he be put into conditional life? Hare Krishna.
Next, Srila Prabhupada explains, therefore, this Sharira is called as Dhamma Shariri. So, Dhamma Shariri is the word that is being used. Dhamma Sharira Parayap Swadehi. Sharirike Dhamma Sharira Parayap Swadehi. Why Dhamma Shariri means only in this particular form of life, that is the human form of life, one can control one can control the mind and senses, and therefore it is called as Dhamma Shariri. Srila Prabhupada says one should feel grateful that one have received such a nice human form of life. Right. So, I mean, thousands of times I have heard till now this, that how one should feel grateful and one should write something called as a grateful journal. In fact, we have one amazing devotee. His name is His Grace Vrajabihari Prabhu from Radha Gopinath Temple. He very strongly advises devotees to write gratitude journal. Advises, and he takes one seminar also, how to write gratitude and immediate gratefulness, it says. Not that every day we write the Gisapita gratitude, because after some time we stop feeling it. So feel gratitude means, he says that the last 24 hours you should write the fresh gratitude. What I was grateful in last 24 hours, what happened in my life that I am very grateful to. I am yet to implement it, but hopefully someday. And Prabhupada says, because this one should properly utilize it. Therefore, one should properly utilize this particular body. And that's why we will see that human body, human form, is glorified in so many immense ways, Nrideha Madhyam, Sulabham, Sudurlabham, and so on and so forth. Why? Because this is the only form where we can control Otherwise, one is simply gone with the basic instincts, and life is simply there is birth and death, and the whatever the progress of the life in between happens. Of course, there is no karma, but there is no independence as well. And Prabhupada says, therefore, we have to control our senses. And if we do not control our senses, then we are no better than animals. The human is simply called as Dvipada Pashu. Bhagavatam is very strong on that. Prabhupada writes one statement here. Everything is possible by controlling the senses. And who can be a greater example of this than Hiranyakashipu? Hiranyakashipu controlled his senses by tapasya and became extremely powerful. Everything is possible by controlling the senses. So these processes are extremely powerful. You can see some of the Jain sadhus and Jain munis and their sadhvis are there. Now, let the philosophical differences apart, but hats off to their austerity, immense austerity and the control of the senses, extreme strong control of the senses, right? And one can see also, materially, in a sense that, from the influence perspective, there will be like billionaires, but they will come and sit and they will be falling at their feet. So control of the senses has its own power. And how devotee controls the senses? By engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord. Right. Further, Srila Prabhupada says, what is self-realization? Real self-realization, people mistake that real self-realization means I realize I am only God. Prabhupada says, no, that is not the self-realization. That is self-deception. Supreme Lord is something who is Anadi. He is Purana. He has no other cause. He is Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Right? He is the cause of all causes. And we are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Mamai Vamsho Jivaloke. But he is Sarva Karana Karanam. From him, everything emanates. Janmadi Yasya Yataha. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavaha. And living entity is not any way closer to the Supreme Lord. He is very close to Supreme Lord from relationship perspective, from quality perspective, but quantitatively, he is different. And one should not get fooled by the Mayavadi propaganda that, self-realization means realizing that you are the Supreme. That is not the self-realization. Text 20. Soham vasannapi vibho bahudukhavasam garbhat nirjig gamishe bahirandhakupe yatra upayatam upasarpati deva maya mithyamatir yadanu samsmriti chakrametat. Translation.
Translation. Therefore, my Lord, although I am living in a terrible condition, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life. Your external energy, called Deva Maya, at once captures the newly born child and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of the cycle of continual birth and death begins. Purport. As long as the child is within the womb of his mother, he is in a very precarious and horrible condition of life. But the benefit is that he revives pure consciousness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord and prays for deliverance. But once he is outside the abdomen, when a child is born, Maya, or the illusory energy, is so strong that he is immediately overpowered into considering his body to be his self. Maya means illusion, or that which is actually not. In the material world, everyone is identifying with his body. This false egoistic consciousness of I am this body at once develops after the child comes out of the womb. The mother and the other relatives are awaiting the child, and as soon as he is born, the mother feeds him and everyone takes care of him. The living entity soon forgets his position and becomes entangled in bodily relationships. The entire material existence is entanglement in this bodily conception of life. Real knowledge means to develop the consciousness of I am not this body. I am spirit, soul, an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Law. Real knowledge entails renunciation or non-acceptance of this body as a self. By the influence of Maya, the external energy, one forgets everything just after birth. Therefore, the child is praying that he prefers to remain within the womb rather than come out. It is said that Sukdeva Goswami, on this consideration, remained for 16 years within the womb of his mother, for he did not want to be entangled in false bodily identification. After cultivating such knowledge within the womb of his mother, he came out at the end of 16 years and immediately left home so that he might not be captured by the influence of Maya. The influence of Maya is also explained in Bhagavad Gita as insurmountable. But insurmountable Maya can be overcome simply by Krishna consciousness. That is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.14. Mam eva ye pravapadyante mayam hitam taranti te. Whoever surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna can get out of this false conception of life. By the influence of Maya only, one forgets his eternal relationship with Krishna and identifies himself with his body and the byproducts of the body, namely wife, children, society, friendship, and love. Thus, he becomes a victim of the influence of Maya, and his materialistic life of continued birth and death becomes still more stringent. Hare Krishna.
Therefore, the child in the womb is praying, the soul, although I am living in a terrible condition, that condition he has already expressed, what condition I am living in inside the womb, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life, because your Deva Maya will at once capture me and immediately put me in false identification. And as soon as the birth is there, there is beginning of the false identification. Happy birthday to you, right? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, as long as the child is within the womb of the mother, he is very precarious and horrible condition, but still the child is considering that it is far better for me here to remember the Supreme Lord than to come out and forget the Supreme Lord. This is the position of the child. The living entity is praying, my dear Lord, let me be staying here for a long time, because as soon as I come out, I will be overpowered by Deva Maya, and I will start considering myself, I am this body, and soon forget my eternal position, and I will become again entangled. Srila Prabhupada says, real knowledge means renunciation or non-acceptance of this body as the self. So that is the real beginning of self-realization, means at least understand we are not this body, but we are spirit soul. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that the influence of Maya, one forgets everything after birth. So there is influence of Maya along with the pain of the birth, right? One will, what happens is all the memory that living entity has of the Supreme Lord, of the previous life, everything is forgotten under the course of intense pain during the birth. And that's why birth is also considered as one of the big four problems. You know, we have big four, just like we have big four in accounting, we have big four in here also. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So Janma, somebody will say, Prabhuji, why Janma is the problem? This is the reason why Janma is the problem, right? And this was the reason why Shukadeva Goswami stayed in mother's womb for 16 full years. That was a different age, and it was Dwapar Yuga. And he did not come out of mother's womb because he felt, and as soon as he came out, his father assured him that no, Deva Maya will not touch. He did not come out. Then the Supreme Lord Krishna personally came and assured that, my dear Shuka, come out. My Maya will not touch you. And then he came out and straight started walking towards the forest. And that is the second verse of Bhagavatam, Teravo Bhinedus. That he is, Vedavyas is running behind the child, Shuka, who has just upon his birth started walking to the forest for renunciation. Right? Immediately he left home. This is the influence of Maya. Influence of Maya is extremely strong, insurmountable. Mama Maya Duratteya. Good news is, Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. Simply by simple process of Krishna consciousness, one can very easily cross over such an insurmountable Maya. And this is, so basic Maya means forgetting one's real identity. Right? Krishna bhuliya jeev, bhogavancha kare, nikatastha maya tara, japati adare. So this is the real Maya. Real Maya is forgetting our eternal position, eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Now we are awakening to the position. What is our position? We are the servant of the Supreme Lord. But later in our spiritual life, our Guru will reveal to us what is our relationship also with the Supreme Lord. That is called as Svarupa Siddhi. Those things will happen eventually in the due course of time. Another important point is these verses have to be taken in a perspective, right? Everything is spoken in a perspective. It is not that the pregnant lady should think that, it's already 9 months, let my child overstay in the womb for 10, 2, 3 more months. So that is not the idea here, right? So this is the child's mood inside. So mood and modus operandi, they are two different things. Okay, one should not take any other wrong inspiration from here. Neither, what the child is praying, motherhood is very, very precious and divine. Okay, so this we have discussed it again and again. The relationship between the child and the mother is, practically the purest one that can be found in the material world. So these purports and these translations and respective purports have to be taken in a perspective where the living entity is praying, from a perspective, right? Text 21. तस्मादहं विगतविक्लव उद्धरिष्ये आत्मानमाशु तमसा सरुदात्मनैव भूयो यथा व्यसनमेतदनेकरन्ध्रम् मामे भविष्य उपसादित विष्णुपादः. Translation.
Therefore, without being agitated any more, I shall deliver myself from the darkness of miseries with the help of my friend, clear consciousness. Simply by keeping the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu in my mind, I shall be saved from entering into the wombs of many mothers for repeated birth and death. Purport. The miseries of the material existence begin from the very day when the spirit soul takes shelter in the ovum and sperm of the mother and father. They continue after uh, they continue after he is born from the womb, and then are further prolonged. We do not know where the suffering ends. It does not end, however, by once changing his body. The change of body is taking place at every moment, but that does not mean that we are improving from the fetal condition of life to a more comfortable condition. The best thing, therefore, is to develop Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated Upsadita Vishnupada, which means realization of Krishna consciousness. One who is intelligent by the grace of the Lord and develops Krishna consciousness is successful in his life because simply by keeping himself in Krishna consciousness, he will be saved from the repetition of birth and death. The child prays that it is better to remain within the womb of darkness and be constantly absorbed in Krishna consciousness than to get out and again fall a victim to a illusory energy. The illusory energy acts within the abdomen as well as outside the abdomen. But trick is that one should remain Krishna conscious, and then the effect of such horrible condition cannot act unfavorably upon him. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one's intelligence is his friend, and the same intelligence can also be his enemy. Here, also, the same idea repeated. Surhada, Surhada Ma Naiva, friendly intelligence. Absorption of intelligence in the personal service of Krishna and full consciousness of Krishna always are the path of self realization and liberation. Without being unnecessarily agitated, if we take to the process of Krishna consciousness by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, the cycle of birth and death can be stopped for good. It may be questioned herein how the child can be fully Krishna conscious within the womb of the mother without any paraphernalia with which to execute Krishna consciousness. It is not necessary to arrange for paraphernalia to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. The child wants to remain within the abdomen of its mother and at the same time wants to become free from the clutches of Maya. One does not need any material arrangement to cultivate Krishna consciousness. One can cultivate Krishna consciousness anywhere and everywhere, provided he can always think of Krishna. The Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare can be chanted even within the abdomen of one's mother. One can chant while sleeping, while working, while imprisoned in the womb, or while outside. This Krishna consciousness cannot be checked in any circumstance. The conclusion of the child's prayer is, let me remain in this condition, although it is very miserable. It is better not to fall a victim of Maya again by going outside.
So now further the child is praying, therefore, without being agitated anymore. What is without being agitated? Let me not be agitated anymore by dharma, artha, kama, moksha, especially artha and kama. I shall deliver myself from the darkest region of nescience with the help of my friend, which is clear consciousness. And let me be always remembering Vishnu Padaha, the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, so that I can avoid repeated birth and death. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the material existence begins the very day the soul takes shelter of material energy. And it has begun at some point of time, but where it ends, nobody knows. Right? Anadi, it is like, therefore, in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this material expansion is explained as na adi, na madhya, na anta. It just keeps on expanding. And it does not end with the change of the body. Prabhupada says every moment actually we are changing our bodies, but it doesn't end. So best course of action is to develop Krishna consciousness, and that is upasidat Vishnu Padaha, by absorption on lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So here the Prabhupada writes importance that living entity is praying not to come out, but to remain there, and by remaining there, perform devotional service. Prabhupada says a question may be raised: how can a living entity perform devotional service in such a miserable place without any paraphernalia? So the answer is that the living entity has one paraphernalia, by which one can perform devotional service anywhere and everywhere, and that is chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you note this, Srila Prabhupada quotes this shloka 2 times in the purport. Right? Prabhupada says this mantra can be chanted even within the womb or anywhere and everywhere. There are no material considerations for chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Neither the power of chanting, the process of chanting can be hindered by any lack of material facility. One cannot say, no, I don't have, Prabhuji, this much of a job, I cannot chant. No, that is not the qualification. Qualification is to simply chant. Prabhupada says the conclusion is that the child is praying, let me remain in that condition, although it is miserable, than to come out and fall into and become a victim of Maya. Text 22. Kapila Uvacha Evam Krutimati Garbhe Dashamasystu Vandrishi Sadhya Kshipanti Avachinam Prasutyu Sutimarutaha. Translation.
Lord Kapila
Kapila continued.
the 10-month-old living entities had chased desire everywhere in the womb, but while he thus extolled the Lord, the wind with helps parturitions people him forth with his face turned downward so that he may be born.
Kapila continued. Kapila Uvacha. The 10-month-old living entity has these desires even while in the womb. Okay, these are the desires of the living entities inside the womb. But while he was just extolling the Lord, the wind helps him. Which is this wind? So there is, technically, I have to ask, there is a wind which goes from upside down and from downside up. There is a wind which will push certain things away from the body. That wind is being talked about. The wind that propels. So here it must be, which is that wind? Okay, I'll get back to you on which is that wind is. Suti Marutaha, is being mentioned here as Suti. So Suti is, it is like Prasuti. From that word, this Suti has come. Suti Marutaha. So that is Prasuti Marutaha. And thus the child is forced out of the womb. Right? Boom, the child just comes out. Text 23. तेनावसृष्टः सहसा कृतावाकशिरातुरः विनिक्राम्यति कृष्णेन निरुच्छासौ हतस्मृतिः. Translation.
Pushed downward, all of a sudden by the wind, the child comes out with great trouble, head downward, breathless, and deprived of memory due to severe agony. Purport: the word krish, sorry, hard word, krishrena means with great difficulty. When the child comes out of the abdomen through the narrow passage, due to pressure their breathing system completely stops. And due to agony, the child loses his memory. Sometimes the trouble is so severe that the child comes out dead or almost dead. One can imagine what the pangs of birth are like. The child remains for 10 months in that horrible condition within the abdomen, and at the end of 10 months, he is forcibly pushed out. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord points out that a person who is serious about advancement in spiritual consciousness should always consider the four pangs of birth, death, disease, and old age. The materialist advances in many ways, but he is unable to stop these four principles of suffering inherent in material existence. Hare Krishna.
While the child is thinking like this, is pushed outside, pushed downwards all of a sudden by the Suti Marutaha, the winds of Prasuti. The child comes out with great trouble, head downwards, breathless, deprived of memory, hatasmritihi, due to severe agony. So Prabhupada says that the birth process is due to there is a great difficulty, and sometimes the breathing system also stops because the is coming out of a narrow passage, and due to the agony, the child loses also his memory, hatasmritihi, and therefore Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, Prabhupada says, it's considered as the sane person should consider these to be the real problems of life, as Lord points out in Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada says, as the materialists are advancing, they are bringing many comfortable conditions. However, nobody can stop these miseries, which are the real miseries of life. We will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Vedanta.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Prabhupada.
everyone.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Prabhupada, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Pranam.